Okay, our lesson today will be coming from the book of St. Luke, the 17th chapter. We're going to be talking about remembering Lot's wife, and that's along with Yeshua wept. That's one of the shorter verses in the Bible. If, of course, we know how they wrote it, who knows? It could not be. But from what the canon that we got today, it is one of the shorter verses. But I'm not going to read just that verse, but that's going to be our key verse. Coming from Luke, the 17th chapter, we're going to start reading in verse 30. And we want to remember Lot's wife. Remember Lot's wife. So these are the words of Yeshua in the red. Luke 17 and 30 reads, Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day, he which shall be upon the housetop, and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. Remember Lot's wife. And whenever Yeshua says anything, we got to look at the whole context of what he is saying. And we're going to read the rest of the chapter later, but we want to look back at this, and the thought that was coming to my mind is we're living in those days when Yeshua is, or rather the Father is getting ready to reveal his Son. Because understand this, Yeshua, when he comes back, it's not going to be at his discretion. It's going to be at the discretion of the Father. That's why when James and John, or Yehukanan and I can't pronounce it in the James name, but the two brothers saying, we want to sit on your left hand and your right hand, he said, it's not in my power to do that. It's the Father. And just like when they asked him, when is the day? He said, no man knows the day nor the hour, not even the Son of Man. He said, I don't know the day that I'm coming. The word, when the Son of Man will be revealed in the Greek, is in the passive voice, meaning that the subject is not responsible for what's going on, meaning when Yeshua comes, it's going to be after the Father has said, go, it's time to go. And we're going to know it's close after we start seeing, we're already seeing all the stuff that's being poured out on the earth right now. The earth has to be in such a condition that when Yeshua come back, that he will be able to subdue it. Not that he can't do it now, but it's a certain thing that the mindset of people got to be a certain way for when Yah sends forth his deliverance. Because one of the things that you find the mindset of the Hebrews when Yeshua came the first time was they was looking for deliverance. So the whole community of us all around the world has to be in the mindset of we want deliverance. And that once we all come on board that our deliverance cannot come from anything on this earth, that's when I believe that Yeshua is going to send forth his son, Yah is going to send forth his son Yeshua to come and get rid of our common enemy and set up his kingdom. But everybody, that's why he said those that have riches, how hard. And now I understand what Yeshua meant when he told the disciples. They said, he said, how hard is it going to be for a rich man to get into kingdom? It's going to be like a camel going through the eye of a needle. But again, like me and my mom, we was never really told what that scripture means. We was actually thinking it was talking about a needle eye of the eye of a real needle. That's not what it was talking about. It was talking about something that was possible. In the gates at night, they would shut the gates. And so if you was a big caravan, and especially if you had camels, you would have to wait until the daylight when they opened the main gate. But if you wanted to come in, they had a little side gate. It was called the needle. And so if you could walk through there, but if you had any goods, you would have to take them off the back of the camel. You had to bring the goods through. Then you had to make the camel get down on his knees and wiggle his way through the eye of the needle. It wasn't impossible, but it was very difficult. So most of them say, I just wait. He said it's going to be that way for people that's rich. It's possible for them to make it in. They got to take their goods, get rid of that if they want to get into the kingdom. But he said most of them says, I'm going to wait. And so this is the way it's going to be, I believe, right before he comes, that we're going to be in a state of, we want to get out of this situation into a better. And you see that. But the thing is, the devil is going to get in, what's that term? The devil is in the details. He always gets himself mixed in there and gets us off track and tells us, oh, okay, it's not Yeshua that's coming back that's going to be your deliverance. Your deliverance is going to be, you got to overthrow this government, or you got to join forces with this group, or you got to do this, or you ain't really the people, you Kemetic, or it's the great cosmic oneness that you got to be part of. All kinds of crazy ideas that he'll send forth. So he's throwing in all these distractions. And so Yah, when he sends his son, those that's expecting him, they're not going to be surprised when he comes. They're going to be prepared for the stuff that's coming. But everyone else, they're going to be like Lot's wife. So what the significance about Lot's wife? So let's go to Genesis, the 19th chapter, and verse 24. And we're going to read a little bit about Lot's wife. We're not going to read the whole thing about everything, but we're going to read about a little bit about Lot's wife. Genesis 19, 24 through 26. If somebody get that, please read it.
Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plains and all the inhabitants of the cities and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Okay, so this is one of the things that he wants, because Hebrews, the Yahudim at that time, most people knew the Torah back and forth. They knew exactly what he was talking about when he talked about remembering Lot's wife. But this is the key thing most people remember, is that she turned into a pillar of salt. But we need to go back. How did Lot's wife get to that point that she turned back and looked back at Sodom? Now we know that Sodom and Gomorrah is one of the terms that he uses for the end times that we living in. He talks about Babylon, he talks about Egypt, he talks about Sodom and Gomorrah. So we are definitely, we know, are living in Sodom and Gomorrah times. You hear that term all the time. We are living in that time of the earth. So we look at Lot. Lot was the nephew of Abraham. And Abraham, it came a day
that he had to separate himself, and this is all in Genesis. He had to separate himself from his nephew Lot because they were battling over the wells and the stuff that they had accumulated, the cattle for the wells. And so the Bible in Genesis talks about how Abraham took Lot out into the plains, and they could see the whole plains with Sodom, Gomorrah, and all the cities. And off to the left, with left and right, I think Sodom was off to the, I want to say the left. I'm not sure. I gotta let me read here. That would be okay. Okay. That's Genesis. Okay. Okay, yeah. Let's go to Genesis 13 and verse 8. It said, and Abram said unto Lot, let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and your thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. If thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere before the master destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the master, like the land of Egypt, as one cometh out of Zor, or Zola, as the guy said it should be pronounced. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east. And so if he journeyed east, that means he went off to the right hand. And they separate themselves one from another. Abraham dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent towards Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the master exceedingly. So this is the first thing that happened. First of all, him having been showed kindness by Abram at that time, he should have just said, Master, you've been so good to me. No, you take the best. No, he took the best, but the best was not the best choice when it came spiritually, because what did it say? It said the men of Sodom were wicked exceedingly. So he pitched his tent towards Sodom. He wasn't in Sodom, he was just in the plains near it. But when you get to the 19th chapter, you find out actually before that, you find that you had the battle where he met Melchizedek, where he finally ended up in Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham had to come rescue him because they had been kidnapped by these kings, and some of them were Nephilim. They had kidnapped him, and Abraham had to go out there and rescue him. And then after the battle, Lot and his family went back to Sodom and Gomorrah again. Second time. Yah was giving him a warning right then when the battle happened, but he went back. And so the thought came to my mind is the Most High Yah has scattered us into all these different places where we, were enslaved or mistreated or whatever. And now what has happened is a lot of us, and this is in the 4 points of the earth, we have integrated into the societies of a lot of these nations where we're at, where these men are exceedingly wicked. But now we got politicians that's part of these systems. We got corporate heads that's part of these systems. Now we are obeying the mandate that Yeshua said. He said, occupy till I come. He said, I pray not in the 17th chapter of John. He told the Father, he said, I pray not that you take them out of the world, but that you will preserve them. Yeah. So I see where he scattered us into these places because of the disobedience that we did when we denied Yeshua, and because of our obstinance, he scattered us into these places that were like Sodom and Gomorrah to a lot of us. Think about here in America with the slave breeding farms. He scattered us into literal Sodom and Gomorrah where we at. But the thought came to my mind also that because this kingdom that Yah is coming is going to be so great, he ain't just going to hand it over to you. It's like, now I've changed my mind on this is the devil doing this, on a lot of the things that comes our way to tempt us and to try us. My mindset now is not that it's the devil. My mindset is this the Most High Yah telling the devil, go test them. I got to make sure that this kingdom that they coming into, that they are prepared for it. So I can't have no people this way coming back into the land again. Test them. I'm allowing you to test them with all this stuff. I'm allowing you to test them with sexual immorality. I'm allowing you to test them with greed. I'm allowing you to do that and see what their reaction is. It's not, because the Bible said he said no weapon formed against you shall prosper, right? So it's almost like you would say, well, then the devil, if he came against me, ain't nothing he can do unless Yah remove his hand and say, go ahead, like you did with Job. Just don't take his life, but you can take this, that, and the other. This is what's been going on with him putting us into all these places and letting all this stuff happen. He has been preparing us for the kingdom because this is how he tests us. He already knows our beginning to our end, but still he has to send us through the test. So all this stuff for us is a test. Now think about this. The Bible calls Lot righteous. Don't ask me how. When we get to two more of the stories about Lot, you're gonna wonder how could he have been. But to be fair, they didn't have the quote unquote Bible like us. They didn't have the Holy Spirit dwelling in them like us, which doesn't. In a lot of cases with us today, it doesn't really make no difference to us. We still do stuff we shouldn't. But to be fair, but the Bible calls them righteous. And to prove that point, let's go to 2 Peter, the 2nd chapter. And this is I'm going to get back to Lot's wife, but I'm trying to show you because Lot was intricate in his wife getting to the point where she's at because of his behavior. If you go to 2 Peter, the 2nd chapter, verse 6. Somebody get that and read that for me. This is why it's always important for us to be prayerful before we move into certain areas and while all this stuff is going on in the world, before we get up and move or we stay somewhere, that we be very prayerful that ask the Most High, Yah, is this your will where I'm getting ready to go? Because it cannot just affect you, it can affect your family. 2 Peter 2, 6 through 10. You got it, Michael? Yeah, 2 Peter chapter 2, 6 through 10.
I got it.
Read.
Wherefore also it is contained in the scripture. Behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect.
Is that 2 Peter?
Oh,
2 Peter.
2 Peter what?
2, 10, 6 through 10.
And turning the city of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemn them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly, and delivered just Lot, vexed with filthy conversations of the wicked, for that righteous man dwelling among them in seeing and hearing vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Lord knows how to deliver the godly out of temptation and to reserve the unjust until the day of judgment to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government. Presumptuous are they, self-willed, and they are not afraid to speak evil of dignity.
Okay, so here it is saying Lot was righteous. Now I got my own understanding of that. Is, that the prayer of Abraham before in the plain of Mamre when Yeshua appeared, because Yeshua states that he did in the New Testament that he came and had a conversation with Abraham, that when he prayed for Lot, because to me, the reason Lot's wife got to that point is because of the things that he allowed to go on, which is that he started to lose his testimony because of the riches and the wealth that was presented to him. So remember Lot's wife. So let's walk this thing out. What's the first thing that if I wanted to remember, I would remember the fact that in Sodom they had great wealth. The first thing, if you go back and read that 19th chapter, you'll find that after Abram had prayed, he sent the angels into the city to rescue them. And one of the things that you will find is the Bible said that when the angels told them you got to come out, it said they tarried. They were struggling to come out. What was, to me, the first reason they were struggling to come out, and that you got to remember, is that they had great wealth. Sodom and Gomorrah it was salt beds around the area, and salt was a very valuable mineral back then, because without salt you can't keep your body balanced. In fact, that's where we get the word salary from, because some of the Roman soldiers were paid in salt. That's how valuable it is. It is very valuable. You need it for seasoning, to preserve your food. This is how they preserved their food. They didn't have refrigerators. So you needed salt. You needed salt for medicine. You needed salt for a whole lot of things. So Sodom and Gomorrah was wealthy. They were very wealthy. So that meant Lot was a very wealthy man. And that meant his wife, she probably lived a style. She said, man, I've been wandering around in tents with his uncle Abraham all these years, and finally I got a nice spread. Man, I got a nice place to live. I'm just being facetious, of course. Now I got a nice balcony. I can look out and I can look at the grapes, and I can look at the beautiful plains of Jordan. Man, we got a nice spread. We got tickets to the Sodom Opera. We could go Broadway shows in downtown Gomorrah. Man, I got it made. Look at this. They had great wealth. And what did I just say that Yeshua said about those that are rich? How hard it is for a rich man to get into the kingdom because of his wealth. So you can imagine, she's like, okay, what I'm going to take? Because the angel's like, we got to leave right now. They're like, but what can I take? He's like, no, we got to go now. So he said they tarried. So the first thing we want to remember about Lot's wife is that one of the reasons why she probably turned around, she had great possessions. She had great wealth that she didn't want to let go. She didn't want to go back to just floating around with Abraham. I don't want to do that no more. I'm settled in here. Don't I deserve this? Don't I deserve to live my best life now? What's that, Joel Osteen? Live your best life now. Don't I deserve to live my best life now? So what? The people go around and do what they do. That don't affect me. I ain't doing what they doing. At least we're gonna go into that too. I got it made. And didn't Abraham, He gave us the opportunity, so it hasn't been the will of the Most High. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't destroy that. He wouldn't destroy this place. He said, you got to come out now. She struggled with that. So that's the first thing I would want to remember if you want to remember Lot's wife. And so it's going to be this way with us. Some of us as black people, we have got pretty good wealth and stuff in these places that we have been scattered to. We got pretty good jobs. We about ready. So let's just put it this way. Could you imagine, okay, if a great calamity came to this country and the Most High said, okay, now it's time to go. It's time for y'all to get out here. And somebody said, yeah, but I'm only 1 year away from getting my retirement. And all that. He said, you got to leave now. I don't know about that. Can't I just stay 1 more year and get my retirement and then I'll leave? No, you got to leave now. The angels. Now, just think about this. This is talking about where it's going to be in the end times. So they was receiving actual angelic visitation, meaning they had no doubt in their mind. Lot had no doubt in his mind when these people came and two angels came that they were angels from the Most High Yah. He had no doubt about it. So that when they told him, we came straight from the throne with Yah, then he said, you got to go. They didn't have no doubt about it. So that Yah, when all this stuff happened to us, that either it's going to be an actual angel or it's going to be a messenger, because that's all the word angel means. It means messenger. That it will be a messenger. Maybe somebody that had a gift of prophecy she said, you know what? It's time for us to get on that plane right now. This is the last plane that's leaving out. If y'all don't leave, you're gonna be stuck here. Well, I know I gotta get my last paycheck. I can't leave yet. I gotta cash this last paycheck, and then I'll come. You see what I'm saying? Remember Lot's wife. Remember her. She was waiting around. And maybe y'all change his mind, because I don't want my beautiful house destroyed. I got a little stash here, and they telling me I gotta live out with the clothes on my back. You mean all that me and Lot has worked for is gonna be up in smoke? I'd rather burn up with it. Bible say, hey, at the yank. In fact, let's go there. Let's go back to the 19th chapter of Genesis. It's crazy. When you read what the angels had to do, they literally had to drag them out of Sodom and Gomorrah. They were living their best life now. Yeah, let's go to verse Genesis 19 and verse 16. It said, and while, talking about Lot, and while he tarried, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the master being merciful unto him. And they brought them forth and set them about without the city. They had to drag them. They said, get out of here now. They was lingering. Everybody, did you clean the dishes? We can't leave the house dirty. You're getting ready to get destroyed. Get out of here. Get out of this place. So, wealth, position, maybe not even wealth in the sense of a lot, but some people like, well, I got a lot of land. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the reason why Lot's wife was looking back, because she did it, facing worldly possession. She didn't want to leave them, let go. So
she didn't want to let go. That's one of the things. But that's the first thing. The second thing, like I said, that you need to think about is that he had other family there. They talk about the 2 daughters, but they had more. I believe they had more children. In fact, let's go back to that same 19th chapter. And it talks about them having children, other children in there. And this is going to get to the point that we're going to talk about. I'll let nothing separate me from the love of Yahuwah. Okay, we can't do it. And okay, let's go to verse 14. And he said, and Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, up, get you out of this place, for the master will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. Okay? So they had other children. So the second thing we need to remember about Lot's wife is that she didn't want to leave her children back there. She didn't want to leave her daughter. Now you would say that should be the way every parent should be. Yeah, to a certain extent. But the Bible, we're going to read another later chapter, in that same chapter, Luke 17, we're going to read about some being taken. Bible talks about the great men in the Old Testament, like David and others. And one of the key things you almost always see is that they always had children that did not go the way of Yah. Even Samuel, the great prophet, his children didn't go the way of Yah. They were wicked. And that's one reason why the people wanted a king, because they said, your sons is not traveling in the area way you are. They're not walking in that same. And so by Lot moving his family into Sodom, he literally lost them. He lost them. Think about this, what your mama read and what I read about the men of Sodom being wicked exceedingly. And then what she read in 2 Peter about all this, how these people were perverted. They was not afraid of dignitaries. And I think that word, I need to go back and look at it, the dignities. They wasn't afraid of the angels. When the angels came in there, they tried to assault the angels. They had no fear of nothing. They was able to do whatever they want. And I think Darby, he has a great sermon. Pastor Stephen Darby had a great sermon about Sodom and Gomorrah and about some of the pseudo-biblical books, and it talks about what they was actually doing that was so detestable back then. It was just terrible. And Lot them was seeing this every day. They were seeing this wickedness, but they was like, you know what, the trade-off is I'm still living nice. But think about this, they had to subject their children to that. They had to subject, and their daughters, subject their daughters to these wickedness. Yeah. And think about this, now that we understand about world history, that the majority of the world and the indigenous people are black. These were black people. Yeah. They were Hamitic people. They were black like us. There wasn't no Caucasian people. All these people was black. So all this wickedness that they was doing was black people. So what does that tell you? What is happening in our communities? What is happening worldwide with this assault on black people? They trying to assault us with this sexual immorality everywhere. All these shows. It started in the 70s with the late 50s on with the soap operas, with the love novel books. We've been exposed to all this stuff, and now we have a segment of us that is ingrained in, like when HBO and all that stuff came out. I remember at first you used to hear a lot of black people say, I ain't getting that. They used to call it hell box something. People used to say, I ain't getting that because it's wicked. But by the time that me and your mom came from Germany and they was offering HBO, it was very popular. And it was very popular because they had Playboy on and all that. I mean, everybody was, I'm just getting it for the boxing. You know, yeah, right. So you see what I'm saying? Then BET or whatever is exposed to all this wickedness. But again, it goes back to what I said. Y'all said, okay, I'm going to expose y'all to all this stuff to see who's going to succumb to it. Because I got to have the cream of the cream, those that can withstand temptation. So when Lot brought his family into that, now that's the difference between Lot and us. Lot willingly went there. We didn't willingly come to these places. We didn't willingly go to England. We didn't willingly go to America and the Caribbeans and all that. We was drugged there. We didn't willingly go into India and some of the other places. But when we got there, we was forced. And let's use the seedy people that went and lived in the jungle and never came out. You was exposed to all kinds of wickedness that you had to fight against to succumb. Because I can remember, even in the 70s when I was a young man, and you start seeing black people like, that was in sororities, having toga parties and all. That's Greek stuff. All kinds of just crazy stuff that we were starting to get into, the ways of thinking, like evolution, all the stuff we was exposed to. Lot's family was exposed to that, and that's why when he went to him and said, the master's getting ready to destroy all that, they laughed and like, you're so funny, you're so funny. We ain't going nowhere. I'm sitting on the city council of Gomorrah, and I got this big business deal. Tomorrow I got something. Nah, Dad, just go ahead and go home and go to sleep. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. But with my daughter, Dad, we're not going anywhere. And so Lot's wife, but Lot's wife, it seemed to me that you could see that the depravity of the city was not no big thing to her. And really, you look at Lot, is when the beginning of the 19th chapter, it talked about the angels came in, and the angel said, you know what, we're going to walk through the city just to check it out, because the Most High Yah said he want to see if the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is as it is with the stuff that was going on, because apparently, if you was a youth there, if you was any kind of child, you probably had it bad. I just say that. It probably was all kinds of sexual debauchery going on. And he said, I want to see it. And Lot said, no, you can't do that. You can't do that at a certain time. You don't need to be on the street. They said, nah, we're going to go. And so, of course, the men of Sodom were wicked exceedingly before Yah, just like it said. And they said, where are those angels at? Well, of course, they had to know something was different about them. This is why I said they had interaction. The Canaanites in that land were known to have mixed with the fallen angel seed. So they had contact with these fallen angels because the second encouragement came. That's how you got Goliath with the 6 fingers and 6 toes. These people were dealing with that. So they knew that these beings were angelic. So apparently they had been engaging in corruption with these things, and so that's why when the angels came, they wasn't afraid of them. That's why Mom read in the 2 Peter about dignities. He was talking about these heavenly beings. They was like, bring them on. They was going to attack them. And so notice what Lot did. He brought the angels in and said, I'm gonna give my 2 daughters to these group of men, and you do to them what you want. What was Lot's wife? Why would Lot's wife say, hold up now? I know what your mama would have said. And she would have been her 2 daughters. Are you kidding? No, you get out there. Can you imagine a mother sitting by and letting that happen? What? No. But apparently they had seen so much depravity, whatever, that it was no big thing for Lot to say, take my daughters. What? It had affected him that much. That's why when we read the scripture about when the angels grabbed him by the arm, the Bible said they pulled him out, the Lord Yah being merciful. He had mercy on him because of the prayer of Abraham. But he was, at one time, he was righteous. But him being in there had so corrupted them. And the thing about it is, it had far more affected his wife than him. Because he had said, well, yeah, I consigned myself, we're going to leave here. But he struggled a little bit, but we're going to read about that in 1 Corinthians, where it talks about us, how we gotta make sure that all our works that we have done here on earth is not consumed up because we haven't built the right foundation. We're not on the right foundation. One of the things, second thing we want to remember about Lot's wife is that she had seen the effects of this on her children and knew that they were not coming out, but that she would say, you know what, I'll stay here with them because the Bible clearly states, he said, there's no man that has left houses and wives and children and husbands or whatever for the kingdom of Yah's sake that shall not gain it back, meaning that you might have to leave them, or children might have to leave the parents when it comes time, or vice versa when it's time to get out of here. Well, you know, I was born here, a family been here for 4 generations. I ain't gotta leave them. You gotta leave them. You give them the message. You gotta leave them. So ultimately, she loved her children more than she loved the Most High and what He was telling them to do. And you get to a point in your life where He said every man must stand for himself when you stand before the Most High Yah. You got to stand before Him on your own, and you can't use the excuse that, well, you know, I had to, well, you know, they wasn't leaving, so I had to stay there with them. No, He said they had a choice just like you. And the Bible said that a man and a woman, when they leave their parents, they on their own. They're their own household. You can't force them to if He would tell y'all adults right now, if something happened and Most High Yah said, hey, we got to get out of here, I'm going to tell you, but I can't grab you by the hand and say, you better come on now. You can be like, my wife, you know, she got just whatever. This is why you got to develop your own relationship, because when it comes down to it, when it's time to flee, you got to go right and then. It can't be no hesitation. You can't. I mean, but that's going to be your choice, because just like the man that received the sight, they came to his parents and they said, tell us about your son. They said, go ask him. He's of age. He can speak for himself. He's of age. He can tell you about how he got healed and everything. Why are you asking us? It's the same for y'all. Y'all got to be able to answer for yourself what y'all actions is when all this stuff start coming down and they say, hey, this is what you got to do, you got to go. You got to think in yourself, well, do I really believe that what mom and dad been talking to me about all these years? Do I really have faith in that? It doesn't affect me. I never seen that. You got to come to your own conclusion about that and make your stand on it. But it's going to be your stance in Yah that's going to save you. And that's what she wasn't willing to allow her children to make, that she wanted to say, I'm wanting to stay there. So we got to look at that. Yeshua, his brothers and sisters, his half brothers, through Mary's marriage with Joseph, they didn't believe in Yeshua at the beginning, but that didn't hold him back. In fact, when he came there to do miracles, the Bible said he couldn't do too many miracles in this because they was like, we don't believe in that. It wasn't until after his resurrection that they came to believe in him. But he didn't let that hold, like, you know what, my family just don't believe in what I'm doing. I'm just gonna come back to Nazareth and be a carpenter. No, he said he moved to Capernaum, and built his own house. And let his ministry flow out of that. And from time to time went back to Nazareth to see how his mother and brothers and sisters did. Because they used to mock him. They're like, you got this great ministry, why don't you go out there and show yourself? He was like, I can't go out there, these people want to kill me. He said, well, ain't nobody got no great message that they don't want people to hear him. And see what I'm saying? So you get to that point where you said can two walk together except they agree. Y'all gonna have to make that decision when the time comes on how y'all gonna go forward for y'all own self. Cause every man must stand for himself. Okay? So what was the third thing we want to remember about Lot's wife? Third thing is that she knowing to me that Lot's uncle was Abram and that he was a man of prayer and that he believed in this invisible, as they said, God. Yeah, he got us. We know that he is interceding because he always was taking care of Lot. He was always looking out for Lot. After Lot's father died, he took him on as his own son. And so I'm thinking in my mind that she probably thought, you know what? I know Abraham. I watched him. He probably praying for us. We're going to be all right. Trying to live off of somebody else salvation, you can't do it. It kind of goes a little bit back to what I was saying in the second point. You got to have your own foundation of Yeshua for yourself that you got to build on. And even if you do that, you're going to be tried. But he said you're going to, which is Lot. Lot is, I'm getting ready to read a scripture out of 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter. I believe Lot was righteous, in the beginning, but he had let it deprave him. But I think his wife was thinking, Lot got a little prayer life or whatever, that's going to cover me too. But I know she was depending on other people's prayer life, salvation to cover her. She didn't have her own. Or else she would have been like, yeah, Lot, let's get out of it. Because you always hear that he went and told the children, let's go. He went to get the angels in. You don't really hear her like fully engaged. She kind of leaning back in the cut, almost like she probably was like taking in everything, like, my stuff is gonna get lost. I'm gonna lose my children. It wasn't that Yah is being merciful to us to get us out of here. We gotta go. They wasn't looking at it like that. And so I'm thinking that it caught her off guard. She wasn't prepared because her faith was not in Yah. She wasn't prepared. She had made it. I believe she had made in her mind a decision that I'm not gonna believe it. I don't really believe in that. My husband might believe, his uncle might believe in that, but I don't have no faith in that invisible quote unquote God. I have faith in what I see. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I know Abram was blessing to my husband or whatever, but he got this himself. It wasn't because of some invisible God. She didn't have no foundation. And when her foundation, whatever that was shaking, the Bible said if the foundation is built on Yeshua said if your foundation is built on sand, when the storm comes and wash the sand away, it's going to wash the house away too. It's got to be built on a solid rock. She didn't have no foundation, so when it came, she was like, I'm out here. And it was swift. It was swift what Yah was getting ready to do, and then give her a chance to, contemplate whatever. It's like, make the decision now or never. And that's the way it's going to be for us. When the thing comes, do we have faith in all the stuff that we have been reading about, we've been talking about? It's going to come. And if a person don't have it, it's going to show off itself immediately on how you react and how you act to certain things is going to come upon this earth. He's not going to give you a lot of time. It's going to be hours, not days, not months, not years, because you had all that time to do that. They had the first warning when Sodom and Gomorrah got captured and they got carried away, that they should say, we don't need to go back to that city, but they went back anyway. And so they had pretty much solidified their roots in it, And the Bible talks about that. Me and Mom talk about all the time about the wheat and the tare that's tangled up. When he comes to burn the tare away from the wheat, so the wheat can you can separate them. How do you know you're a wheat or you're a tare? Because he said the wheat and the tare, when they're growing together, they look just like each other. But when the fire, when the wind comes, the blow the shaft, he said the wheat, the shaft is blown away. The wheat drops down. It's got some weight to it. But the shaft, the shaft is blown away. The wheat goes down to the ground. So that's what's going to happen. The threshing floor, he said he shall thoroughly purge his floor with fire. That means that all that stuff that fell on that shaft is going to be burnt up. It's going to be burnt up when the wind take it away. This is what was happening with Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is the time that we live in. He's getting ready to separate the wheat from the what? Tares. And so this is what's happening. She was a tare. She was a tare. And you're going to look at it, the daughters were tares too. You're going to see that later too. But let's go quickly to this scripture in 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter, verse 9. 1 Corinthians 3rd chapter, verse 9. Okay, and reads. He said, for we are laborers together with Yahuwah. You are Yahuwah's husbandry. Ye are Yahuwah's building, according to the grace of Yahuwah, which is given unto me as a wise master builder. I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereon. But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereon. For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Yeshua HaMashiach. Now if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, and stubble, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by what? Fire. And the fire shall what? Try every man's work of what sort it is. If any man's work abide, which he has built thereon, he shall receive an award. If any man's work shall be burnt, he shall suffer loss, right? But he himself shall be what?
Saved.
Yet as by what?
Fire.
Okay, this was Lot. Lot was a righteous man, but he wasn't righteous then. So y'all was trying his works by fire. He escaped, but he lost everything. He lost everything. Listen to me. He lost his children that was in the city. He lost all that wealth he had accumulated. He lost all that prestige he accumulated. He lost his wife. He lost his 2 daughters that came out because they did what? They got him drunk and slept with him and produced 2 evil seeds, the Moabites and the Ammonites, who are still over there today. He lost everything. All his work was burned up because he wanted to go. And this is what's, and some of us, we're going to be, now understand this, he, in 1 Corinthians, he's not talking about stuff here on earth anyway. He's talking about your spiritual rewards that you're going to have in the coming kingdom. Because apparently, like I was telling your mom, Yah has so many great things that he has prepared when he comes down, that he wants to let his people do. And he said, okay, how you acted when you had your opportunity on this earth as a believer on that foundation. Foundation is the foundation of salvation, meaning you born again. He said, but now that you got that foundation, you got to build on it. Some build on it by giving their very life. I mean, and they're martyrs. They're going to get a Bible called Stephan. It's in the word Greek. It's a Stephan stone crown. They're going to get a crown of those that suffer Then some that's gonna just be able to live their life, they're gonna get theirs through their works that they did while they were here. What you did, that's why I say if you be faithful over few, I'll make you ruler over many. There's apparently gonna be cities and countries and planets and all this stuff that's gonna be out there that he wants to allow his people to do. But if you don't do anything with it, like you're gonna get out, but you're gonna probably be like, well, I got a little shed over there. You can rule over that in the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else got cities and countries and everything. Like, you can go over there with the barn animals. You know what? You got some donkeys and mules over there you can rule over. You'll be in the kingdom now, but you ain't, it can be like, who is that over there? Oh, that's, he just barely made it in by the skin of his chin. I mean, no doubt, you're going to be happy you ain't going to be burnt up, but still, like some preachers just say, you're going to have to smell the fire in your wings. You're like, shake some ashes off, So, that's where he was, because listen what, he said, just as they got to the plains, the fire was coming down from Yah in heaven. That's why Yeshua was here, because he prayed unto the Most High that was in Father in heaven, and he said, yes, Father, it's like it is, rain down the fire. He said, and this is an example of what's going to happen, because we know that when Yeshua comes into the valley of Armageddon, the battle of Armageddon, he's gonna rain down destruction upon those armies that's gonna be there to try to fight against him. And will some of our people be part of those armies that's gonna fight against Yeshua? Will they be? Will they be those that's deceived? Will they be deceived like Lot's wife was? Even to the point of Lot himself being deceived, but he made it out, but he made it out with nothing but what he came in with. He didn't even have his family with him. He just had himself. So that's what we got to remember. We got to remember this is what we are getting ready to get confronted with. The judgment and stuff is coming. Look at the people in Bahamas. That storm stayed there 2 days, and now they have nothing. Some of them gonna have to leave what? They're gonna have to leave their dead parents and stuff back there just to get off the land. When the planes come in, they say, okay, got a plane. Well, I gotta bury my mom and my brother. If you don't get on this plane, you're gonna be left here. What you gonna do? You're gonna have to go. It's terrible that they got put in that situation, but this is stuff that's coming upon earth. It's gonna be swift. It's gonna be so life-changing. Yeah. It is. Because if he said the second Exodus is gonna be the greater than the first, and he gotta bring black people from all over the earth into the land and bring from all walks of life or whatever. Our minds, our psyches and everything's got to be changed to those that's going to make it. He said, pray that you are counted worthy to escape. Why do I say that? Let's go back to Luke 17. Let's go back to Luke 17 chapter verse, and we stopped at verse 32. Let's read verse 33. He said, whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. I tell you, in that night, which was the night when the angels came to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? There shall be 2 men in one bed. The one shall be taken, and the other shall be left. 2 women shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken, the other left. 2 men shall be in the field. The one shall be taken, and the other left. And they answered and said unto him, where, Lord? And he said unto them, wheresoever the body is, thither will the eagles be gathered together. Now we usually this scripture was talked to us about the rapture. This didn't have nothing to do with the rapture. This scripture had to do with what the destruction that was going to come in 70 AD when the Romans came back. He said the one that's going to be taken was the ones that was going to die. And he was really making he was really doing a comparison. He said one out of two is going to survive. One's going to be killed or taken back into slavery, because a lot of them were taken into slavery back to Rome. But then we remember over 1 million Yahudim escaped into Africa. That's what he was trying to let them know. Some of y'all you're going to die. You're going to be taken. You got 2 men in one house, one going to be taken, killed, or whatever, and one going to be escaped the destruction. He said, how do we know this? And this is the key. He said, where the eagle is gathered. Now, he was telling them what was going to happen. He was telling them Rome, because Rome's symbol is what? The eagle. He said, where you see the eagles gathered, that's what happened when Vespasian's army started gathering around Jerusalem. They knew, oh yeah, Yeshua said that, where the eagles gathered, and they got them armies, and they said at one time he had to withdraw his armies to go back to Rome because it was a civil war. And when he left, the ones that were smart left. The other ones stayed and were taken when he brought his army back. So they just ransacked the whole city and leveled it out. That's what he was saying. So he's saying he's going to make, that's the key to us. There's going to be a window of space when y'all is going to be like, for us here in America, now it's time to go. Now, this is why you got to be born again. You got to hear from the Spirit of Yah. And when he says it's time, and that's why I say I believe there's going to be more angelic visitation, whether angels appearing as they are, or being people, or the angels disguising themselves and saying, you know what, I don't know. I got 2 tickets for a plane to go to so-and-so, and I can't catch that flight. Would you and your family be interested in these tickets? No, we've been trying to get out. Okay, here. Because, of course, sometimes, y'all, the Bible said we entertain angels and don't know it. And that we will get, because I don't know if it's going to be a whole big thing, or I don't know if it even going to be where the angel's going to literally do it like he did with Lot and grab us, take us by hand and put us on some kind of spaceship or float us off of this place. I don't know, but somewhere it's going to be that way that, boom, when the opening comes, we're going to have to get out of here. Because we already know when these other countries, America been doing this stuff to attack us, they ain't going to have no mercy. They're going to be like, all this stuff y'all did to us, all this stuff y'all showed, y'all starved our people out and all this stuff, man, they're gonna bring down some heat on this country. We're going to bring some heat. So we got to be ready to get out of here, or else we're going to get caught up in the fire. Listen to this. Let's go to Revelations 18th chapter. And verse 1. It said, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily and with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. That's what Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah was, because of the salt, they had a lot of nations that depended on them. That's why they were so wealthy. And this is letting me know, even though I know Babylon is a worldwide system, in the Revelations, and it just came to me as I was reading it. This part of Babylon is a specific place because he said all nations have made themselves drunk with her wine. So it's a particular nation, because some people say, well, Babylon ain't the only part of America ain't the only part of Babylon, but it is the key place that people right now is coming to become drunk. They have made themselves drunk off of our merchandise. It's coming, and he said it has become the habitation of every foul and unclean. There's all kinds of witchcraft, all kinds of stuff going on in this country. But let's go keep reading, because we about to end. And it said, I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partaker of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her plagues have reached unto heaven, and Yah has remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she has rewarded. So this let me know that Yah knows that he got people in Babylon, that we were scattered, but it's going to come a time through his angels, through his angelic agents, that he's going to warn us, okay, now is the time to come. Now is the time to come out of her, because we finna reward her for all the stuff that she has done, because her sins have reached unto heaven. And apparently it's not, they must be close. It's got to be close. You know, that's what I believe. Look at all these infestations of bugs. They said these some kind of flies that they got going around sucking sap out of trees and destroying vineyards. And you know the thought that came to my mind where it says, see not that thou, in Revelation where it says, see that thou harm not the oil and the wine. It said these flies is going around destroying all these vineyards in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey, all, and they spreading from state to state. They destroying trees. They were brought here by mistake from China. And now they got try to bring a wasp over here, an invasive species, to try to kill it because they can't stop it. But he said that ye receive not of her plagues. Don't we have all kinds of plagues going around? Yeah. And he said, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled up to her double. How much has she glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow gave her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen and a widow, and no widow, and shall see no sorrow. The Statue of Liberty, that's the symbol of America, America the glorious. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with what? Fire. For strong is the Master Elohim who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is her judgment come. And so this is going to happen really quick. I'm not going to read the rest of it. You go to read it, the rest of it yourself. But it talks about, let's go down to verse 21 though. He said, and a mighty angel took up a great stone like a millstone and cast it in the sea, saying, thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers, talking about those singers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters, shall be heard no more in all in her, and no craftsman whatsoever craft there be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee, and the light of the candle shall shine no more in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries, talking about drugs, that's the word pharmakeia, were all nations deceived. Yes. And in her were found the blood of prophets and the saints, and all that were slain upon the earth. And I like that series that B'nai Israel said, ye are the children of the prophets and the saints. But actually the word should be elect. So remembering Lot's life, what do we need to remember? We got to remember the great wealth. What does it profit a man to gain his whole world and lose his own soul? We got to remember we can't let nothing separate us from the love of Yah. We can't let our children, we can't let none of, and then third thing, we gotta be saved. We gotta have our own salvation walk. We can't depend on somebody else's. We gotta have that foundation, and we gotta build on that foundation, because Yah is gonna try even those that are saved by fire. He's gonna try us by fire. Think about Moses. His trial of fire was when he had a chance to become Pharaoh, but he said, the Bible said he gave it up. He said, I don't want the Pharaohship. I want to suffer with my people. And then what did Yah end up doing? He ended up sending him out to what? To the wilderness for 40 years. Before he brought him back to Egypt to destroy it. Yes, he sent him away. So much so that he had lost his ability to even talk eloquent and all this stuff. So I can't talk eloquently. Even though I was raised in the best schools and everything, Yah had basically got all that out of him. Because he had to separate him away from Egypt. He had to separate him away from it. So that when it was time to destroy it, he wouldn't have no apprehension about it, because he hadn't been around it that much. So we're in this world, but not of this world. So right now, we got to spiritually separate ourselves from Babylon, because one day we're going to have to physically separate ourselves when he tells us it's time to get out. So that's our lesson today. I hope you was blessed by it.